Welcome to the last video in Section 2, Algebraic Expressions. Here we're going to continue our work with writing expressions. So we're going to start with this activity where we match each description on the left to the correct expression on the right. So A says, to rent a car you pay $60 plus 20 cents per kilometer. So I'll be looking for an expression that has 60 with an addition sign, since it says plus, and 20 cents per kilometer means you would multiply however many kilometers there were by 20 cents. So looking at the options on the right, you probably notice that it matches with this one here. Now also notice that the expression does not include any dollar signs. When representing real-life situations, you don't need to include units like dollar signs or degrees Celsius like you see in B, as they just get in the way. Just be sure you include them, though, if you're answering a word problem. Now for B, it says the current temperature is 15 degrees Celsius and will drop 2 degrees Celsius each hour. So this time I'm going to look for an expression that has 15 in it. And since the temperature is going to drop, I'm looking for a subtraction here. 2 degrees each hour means I would multiply the number of hours with 2. So you can see that that would match up with this expression here. 15 minus 2h. Now C says a daycare charges $15 per day. So to create an expression from that, I would just multiply however many days there were by 15. So that would be this expression. And lastly, an employee earns $20 an hour and makes $2.25 in tips. So $20 an hour means you multiply however many hours you worked by 20, and then you can add on your tips after that, matching with this expression here. So now that you've been exposed to some situations and expressions, we can move on and create our own expressions. So A says Phil checked his bank account for his balance and then added $25 more into his account. How much money does he have altogether? Well, it doesn't say how much he started with. So this is where we can use a variable to represent how much money he initially had in his account. So let's use M for the amount of money. Now if we need to add $25 onto that, we get the expression M plus 25. Now let's say he had $237 in his account. How much money does he have now? Well, M represented how much he had, so if I replace M with 237 and then add 25 onto that, I'll see that that is 262. So now when I answer the question, I can put in the dollar sign and say that Phil now has $262. Now for B, it says Grace earns $14.25 for each hour worked. How much money do they make? Well, I would multiply however many hours there are with $14.25. And since it doesn't tell us, we can use a variable. So our expression can be 14.25h. Now it says if Grace worked 7 hours, how much money did they make? So let's replace the h with 7. So I'm going to write 14.25 and then bracket 7. So the brackets means multiplication. So we can use a calculator to multiply that and get 99.75, meaning Grace made $99.75. Now one more example. Danny had 12 comic books in his collection. If he buys 2 more each week, how many does he have in total? So I don't know how many weeks he's been buying them, so we can let a variable represent how many weeks there are. So we started with 12. So the total number of comic books he would have would be 12 plus 2 times however many weeks he buys them for. So something like this, 12 plus 2w. Now, how many comic books would he have after 13 weeks? So we can replace our w with 13. 12 plus 2 times 13. Now, not forgetting about our order of operations here, because we have an addition, but we also have a multiplication. So remember that multiplication comes before addition. So let's do 2 times 13 to give us 26. Now let's add on 12 to that. So that means that Danny now has 38 comic books. So that ends this section on algebraic expressions. Be sure to complete all the activities before moving on to the next section.